If you're experiencing unwanted hair growth on your face or your arms or your back, today I'm going to share with you some natural causes as well as a few solutions that are highly impactful for addressing excessive hair growth. This is a condition we call hirsutism, and it is very common, especially among women that are dealing with assortment of hormonal imbalances. So let's dig deep into addressing how to get rid of unwanted hair growth on your body. Unwanted excessive hair growth is a topic that's of great interest to many of you, and that's why I'm talking about it today. On, I think, one of my more recent hair growth videos, there were a lot of questions about how to get rid of the unwanted hair growth. So let's dig into several reasons and things you need to do to address the unwanted hair growth. The most common factor, especially for women, is going to be some degree of hormonal imbalance with your androgens. These are reproductive hormones like testosterone and even cortisol, as well as underlying imbalances with polycystic ovarian syndrome. This is a metabolic dysfunction or a metabolic syndrome. So we need to look at hormones, but we also need to look at your metabolic function. And then don't be surprised if some of your current pharmaceutical medications like birth control pills or even steroids might be influencing the unwanted hair growth. With polycystic ovarian syndrome, one of the most identifiable factors here are going to be cysts that are on your ovaries. Just know there are over 6 different forms of PCOS, and not all cases are going to present with cysts, but women who have cysts or tumors on their ovaries, benign tumors, can experience unwanted hair growth. And so you don't necessarily have to be dealing with PCOS to have a cyst on your ovary, but those sometimes are interchangeable or go hand in hand. So let's kind of dig into some things that we need to zero in on. First, get your hormone levels evaluated. Before we can do anything, we need some knowledge. We need to test and not guess. So have your full reproductive labs run. We need your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone, and there are even specific ovarian-related health labs, like your follicular stimulating hormone, your FSH, and your LH, your luteinizing hormone. Those 2 values will evaluate the beginning phase of the ovarian process before ovulation, and then the luteal, the LH, will evaluate the latter phase post-ovulation before your menstrual cycle. Those values are going to dial in, is it hormonal imbalance? And particularly if your testosterone levels are elevated or you suspect you may have some PCOS, you can also have DHT run, and you can even look at your overall ovarian reserve health. And the second most important test to have run is going to be evaluating a 24-hour panel of your cortisol levels. Generally, we're going to be looking at 4 or 5 saliva vials, like little saliva vials, samples of your saliva, and assess cortisol in the morning, lunchtime, dinner, and usually right before bed, or sometimes also at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. Cortisol is a huge underlying current in terms of the conversion of androgens. Cortisol can trigger a certain enzyme that then produces more testosterone in women and can influence DHT. So these are going to be really, really important things to identify. The other kind of overall assessment on a daily basis you should be testing are your glucose levels. It's not uncommon. I will have patients get a body glucose test where they put that thing on their arm and they've got it queued up to their phone, and they're evaluating the influence of glucose in the morning, in a fasting state, after lunch, before dinner, and throughout the night. Evaluating your overall glucose values, or the kind of broad-based glucose assessment and snapshot of where your glucose levels are throughout the day, will help us not only dial in cortisol, but also help us understand, are you dealing with insulin resistance and glucose intolerance? That is an underlying element with the metabolic syndrome that can cause excessive hair in areas we don't want it to be, mostly on our face, thicker hair on our arm, or hair on our back. Now, another thing that we need to manage are those androgens. So if you do get those values tested, then it's important that we lower testosterone in a healthy way and also lifting up and supporting progesterone. And again, we need to know your lab values before we can really dig into the logistics, and not every person is going to need the same protocol. So I'm very cognizant and cautious of recommending hormones as well as certain herbals here, because your case is individual. And so it's important that you treat it as such and you really dig into the test assessment before you guess and start taking all sorts of things, because certain supplements may make things worse and you don't want to do that. And then another thing that we need to do is really assess the state of your central nervous system and your body's overall stress response mechanism. Your stress response mechanism can trigger all sorts of things. It creates the cortisol production, it increases testosterone production, thereby increasing your androgens, and it can also overwhelm your body and create more hormonal imbalance. So instead of being on the hamster wheel, we need to start to get you off the hamster wheel by evaluating your levels of certain hormones and monitoring daily glucose, and then deploying also stress management relief and tactics to help you lower your stress and bring balance to your central nervous system. I have a few things that I'm going to recommend in the description box below, specifically if you want any tests and you just don't want to deal with the medical community, you just want to go for a test. Let's get you tested. I'll include some test links down below. Also, I'll include just a very broad protocol for some very powerful herbals that specifically address excessive hair growth. So these are herbals that, regardless of where your labs are hormonally, they will help address some of the underlying factors that contribute to excessive hair growth, whether it's an adrenal tumor or a cyst on your ovary or excesses of testosterone. These herbs are helpful. And I also have a free stress relief mini course. It's about 26 minutes long, 3 video modules. And I share with you DIY, do it on your own, self-care techniques to lower and instantly change your stress response mechanism. These are really impactful. So I hope you'll take that. It's a free course. All you have to do is sign up and you get access and you're off and running, and you can watch the videos and do the tactics, and within a week or two, folks generally get the gist and can do it on their own anytime they feel the need to lower their stress. Because I'm very serious when I say this, stress is such a huge influence behind a lot of health conditions, but particularly when we're dealing with unwanted hair growth. Stress is often at the center, the bullseye that kicks off all of the imbalances that lead to the excessive hair growth. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions. Are you curious about PCOS? I actually have a protocol I'll link in the description box below, as well as other videos. I'll click here, post here at the end of our video. Thanks for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you in our next video.